All right. Thank you, everybody. My name is Jason Nicholson. In case you don't know who I am Tammy's husband. Kind of figured you probably knew that. I'm a John Maxwell coach. So a few of you have been through a couple of my mastermind groups. Thank you for that. I've done quite a few since then. So hopefully I'm a little bit better at it than those of you that were willing to kind of let me go through it for the very first time. So I'm actually doing a really big mastermind group right now for the book that we just gave away, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And about 2 weeks ago, I covered law number 3, which is the law of the mirror. And it had such a really good response from everybody that was in the group. I was telling Tammy about it, and she thought that's something that we should share with the team. So I put together kind of a condensed version of that, and I'll go through it with you. Is there anybody on this call, just by a show of hands, that have actually read the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth? Leslie, awesome. Leslie, you didn't go through one of the masterminds with me, did you? With 15 Invaluable Laws? Did we do that one together? Okay. So then you'll get a little bit of this kind of stuff. I've kind of condensed it and changed it all up a little bit. So hopefully there's some new content in there for you. But really what this law talks about is self-esteem and confidence building. And so I want to share some ways that you could do that. One of the things that is a big passion of mine is working with entrepreneurs, people like yourself, especially if you want to fine tune that down even more to a niche of network marketers and MLMers, because I know some of the grind that you have to go through. I see that every single day with what Tammy does with our business, and I see the things that she does that's successful, and I hear about the things that aren't successful. And then she shares a lot of the stories that you guys share with her about what's working and what's not working. I get to see her go through countless hours of training. I can't tell you how many tens of thousands of dollars that between the two of us we've spent on either personal training, on coaching seminars, on working with coaches or working with mentors. So we've got a lot of experience going through some of that stuff. And I wanted to compile all that and add it into what I teach with this 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. So let me get right into that. One of the things that I hear a lot of from the entrepreneurs that I work with is, how do they build their self-esteem? And why is it really important to have a good self-esteem? One of the things that I feel and what I've learned is that it's the most significant key to a person's behavior. And that's because the low self-esteem puts a ceiling on your potential. So if you've ever heard of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, also another John Maxwell book, one of my favorites, the very first law that he talks about is the law of the lid. And what that basically states is you have a lid on your potential, right? And you hit that lid and you can't go past that lid. So the thing with that lid is that you also attract people that are below your level of leadership. So if your level of leadership is a 6, you're only going to attract people that are 4s, 5s, and 3s. And so if you're a team builder, a leader, if you're someone that is building a network like all of you are, and you're a 5 leader, you're going to attract leaders that are 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. And then those people are going to attract leaders that are 3s, 2s, 1s. And you see how that goes. What ends up happening there is that means that those people that are being attracted into your network are bottlenecked. They're bottlenecked by you and your team. Now, there's going to be occasions where you may be a 5, and you all may be 9s. I'm not a 9. You might be a 9, but let's just say that you're a 5. There may be a chance that you pull someone in that's a 7, and you're like, wow, that person's just on fire. They're great. But here's the problem with that. You're going to have a hard time holding that person because they're not going to want to follow someone that's only a 5. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to have a number, attached to you, but the things that you do are going to be what a 5 does. And that goes into your self-esteem. So you have a lid on your self-esteem, but you can grow that lid just like you can grow your leadership lid. And there's different ways to do that. And we're going to kind of talk through some of those. So we place a value on ourselves, and it's usually the same value that others place on us. So if you think negatively about yourself, others are going to tend to think the same thing about you. That goes for if you place a small value on yourself. Think about it. If you're going to purchase something, right? And the salesperson tells you, let's say it's a car. The salesperson tells you this car is $10,000. You're like, okay, it's $10,000. and they come back in 10 minutes and tell you that it's $15,000. That doesn't happen. The only way it goes is down, right? You can never go any higher. So if you have a value of yourself of $10,000, everyone else is going to see you as 10,000 or less, because the way you walk around. And you'll see that with some people walk around, their body language is kind of, or slumped over. You don't see that presence. And sometimes you may have that too, and you kind of walk past the mirror and you catch yourself, and you got to kind of, you got to be self-aware. And so that's one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about tonight, is just your self-awareness. So there's a great quote that I love, and I know that most of you have probably heard this, by Henry Ford, and that's, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And if you really internalize that, now I've heard that for years and years and years, and it just kind of was like, yeah, okay, whatever, that sounds cool. But when I took the time to stop and self-evaluate and think about what that really means, that's when it kind of hit home for me. I'm going to try to change the view here. Oh, sorry, I can't change it. All right. So there's some ways that you can work on your self-image. And the first one of those is to guard your self-talk. Now, self-talk is the things that you say to yourself, the movies that play in your head, as I like to say. A lot of times those movies are fiction, right? So think about it in this scenario. I'm going to give you kind of something that runs through my mind sometimes. So I've got to go meet with the client. And most of my clients in my everyday career are car dealers. So I go to deal with car dealers, and I don't deal with the salesperson. I deal with the owner of the dealership. So some of these guys are multi-millionaires. And there's times that I may sell them a service or a product, and it may do really well, and there's times that it may not do so well. Either way, I have to step up and go in and talk to them about the results. And let's say I know that this sale that I sold to them didn't do so well, and I've got to go and talk to this person and explain why it didn't go well. I can have all kinds of scenarios going on in my head, like, oh, this guy's going to just kick me out. He's never going to want to do business again. I'm going to lose so much money. I'm going to lose this big account. All those things can be playing in my head. And trust me, they have. I've been doing this for 2 decades now, and many of those thoughts have ran through my head. And surprisingly enough, more often than not, I'll go in and talk to them, and we'll figure a way to make it work. We'll work it out somehow. And all that stuff, all that garbage that I had that was playing in my head was for naught. There was no reason for that. And if anything, all it did was create anxiety, maybe not want to go in there, maybe ruin my day the day before, maybe ruin my morning, but I get in there and I get it done, and it's over with. So I have a deep thought for you. So think about this and internalize this, all right? If I can get deep with everybody, I know I don't know most of you very well, but bear with me. So what we say about ourselves, we tend to believe. And what we believe, we tend to act on. What we act on, we tend to become. So think about that. What we say about ourselves, we tend to believe. What we believe, we tend to act on. What we act on, we tend to become. So the example of this that really kind of hits home for me is, we've probably all heard about the 4-minute mile and what a big accomplishment it was for Roger Bannister when he hit that, or when he achieved that for the first time. So in 1954, Roger Bannister was the first person in recorded history to run a sub 4-minute mile. So he ran a mile in less than 4 minutes. No one in recorded history before that had ever done it. Might not seem like it's a big deal, but here's the thing. This is where this all comes into play, because less than 2 months after that, a man named John Walker from New Zealand did it. Might not seem like a big deal, but John Walker went on to go do it 135 times. So all the way up until 1954, no one had ever done it. Now all of a sudden, John Walker goes and does it 135 times. Countless people have been able to do it ever since then, and now it's not really as big of a deal. I mean, there's people that do it fairly regularly now. It's still a big deal, but it's one of those things that now they kind of gauge it on who can break the 345 or the 350. Trust me, I'm not a runner, but these are the things that are important now. So instead of it being 4 minute, now it's kind of moved down, and it's moved down because the mindset has shifted. So in the past, the mindset was, oh, that's one of those numbers we just can't ever hit. No one's ever going to break that. It's one of those inconceivable things. Well, when someone conceived it and actually went out and did it, now all of a sudden everybody thought, wow, if he did it, I can do it. And so they stop comparing themselves to others. And that's one thing that you need to keep in mind too, is don't compare yourself. How often do you look through, and these are personal experiences, so this has happened to me. How often have you looked through Facebook and you don't know why, but it seems like, maybe 5-10 minutes, you just kind of get a little pissed off. You just scroll through there, you don't know why, and you're like, man, why am I getting aggravated with stuff on Facebook? And you may be letting some of that stuff get to you. So I sat back and I thought about it, and I went and looked, and so I've weeded out a lot of the negative stuff that's on Facebook. So all the people bashing each other about the election and all the politics stuff, I've kind of unfollowed those guys and gals, because I just don't want that negativity stuff in there. So that's gone. But then why do I still get a little bit aggravated sometimes? And I started thinking about it, and I asked some people, and some of the people that were on my mastermind group, I asked them, why is it that you get frustrated? Let's be real. Like, let's really delve down into why is that? And someone told me, and this kind of really hit home, was someone said that, I think it's a little bit of jealousy. No one really posts a lot of their bad, negative stuff on there, right? Or even seems like now more people post some of their day-to-day stuff, but you see, especially early on, a lot of people posting their vacations, stuff about their little puppies, their kids, their new car they just got, their new house they just got. So you see all this cool positive stuff, like we posted about our, when we were doing all the renovations to the house. Well, you got to see like the cool after shot. Well, what you didn't see was me having to argue with the contractors because the floor wasn't done right, and this wasn't done here, and that there was a couple tiles that were off, and the cabinets took too long. You don't see all that. You just get to see the end picture. So what ends up happening is we see these things and we look at that and go, man, I wish I could afford to redo my kitchen, or I wish I could afford to go to the Bahamas, or man, if I would have tried a little bit harder, I could have gone on that Success Club trip. And so there ends to be a little bit of that kind of jealousy that starts to happen there. It's because we're comparing ourselves to others. And if we stop making comparisons, making comparisons is an amazingly powerful attraction. And it's just an unneeded distraction to our own potential. So your true mission has to be to just be better today than what you were yesterday. And these are things that I'm sure a lot of you are telling to your customers. That's why I love to work with network marketers, with entrepreneurs, because these are the things that if you're a network marketer and you've been a network marketer for a while, you know that you have to really focus on your personal growth, because if you don't, I mean, how often do you get told no, right? I mean, there's a book that we recommend, Go for No. So how often do you get told no? It's like all the time, right? And if you're not getting told no all the time, you're not asking enough. That's pretty much the premise of the whole book. I can sum the whole thing up for you. Go out there and set a goal. Instead of, I want to sell X number of challenge packs this month, it's how many people are going to say no so I can get to that number of challenge packs. And that's what you have to go after. And that same thing, let me just tell you, that same thing applies for other businesses. So in my corporate world, when I want to sell these sales to these huge dealerships of my clients, I might have to go see 10 of them to have one of them tell me no. I've gotten a lot better at it, and I've refined the product and the service. So now I might only have to go tell 4 or 5. But in the beginning, I had to go tell 20. But the cool thing was, in the beginning, I was what they call ignorance on fire. I was full of energy, and I went out, and it was okay for me to go meet with 10 or 15 clients in a day until I got that one yes. Now I've kind of refined it and gotten it to where I'm a little bit better at it. So I only have to go out and meet with 4 or 5 to get that yes. And those are the kind of things that you guys are going to go through. Some of you have been doing this for a long time and you're a lot better at it. But that's what I want to get at next is how do you get to that success level? There's in the John Maxwell book, there's a section in there. Have any of you heard of Chicken Soup for the Soul? Awesome book. So co-author for that is Jack Canfield, and he actually has 4 success principles that I love. So I want to share those with you. The first one is identify a limiting belief that you would like to change. Now, whenever I do these, I like to throw myself under the bus. And Leslie can relate to this because her and I had some heart-to-hearts when we were at Summit. So my limiting belief that I shared with Leslie at Summit was that I hate to work out. Everybody's like, oh, this is a Beachbody call, and he admitted that he hates to work out. I told Dave this too. So the second thing is you got to decide how those beliefs limit you. So when I sat back, I came back from Summit and I thought about this. I'm like, you know what? I got to change my mindset. I really got to change my mindset. So how do the limiting belief of I hate to work out, how does that limit me? Well, that means that I'm not going to be as healthy as I want to be. I'm not going to be as strong and as active for my kids. It means that I'm going to, not be there and be able to keep up with them eventually. And then the third thing is decide how you want to be, act, and feel. And to relate that back to my hating to work out, I want to be more active. I want to have more energy. I don't want to roll out of bed limping around like an old man. That's my limiting belief. The fourth part of this is you create an affirmation statement that gives you permission to be, to act, and to feel this new way. So for me, I love the feeling of accomplishment that I get when I complete a tough workout. I love that my kids get to see me going through and doing something that whether I enjoy it or not, I'm still doing it to get it done because there's a benefit for me. And I love that they see that I'm committed to something and that I'm following through on that commitment. So those things are more important to me than the actual aggravation of doing the workout. And by the way, what I found really works well for me, what I figured out that I like or dislike more than the workout is the music playing in the workout. So I just turn the music off and put Pandora on and I'm fine. So just a tip for those of you that also hate to work out. I know nobody on the call hates to work out. I see Leslie and Dave working out like all the time. Daisy, Catherine, you guys are all on my Facebook, so I see you guys all the time. Amanda. All right, so one of the things that you can do as well to take it to the next level. So when we're talking about our self-esteem, what makes you feel good? If you really sit back and you assess what makes you feel good, for me, it's creating value for others. So I'm doing this call for free for all of you, and I see that several of you have your heads down or you're taking notes. That tells me that I may have said one thing that's added some value, at least enough value that you felt you should write that down. That makes me feel awesome. That's why I do this. I do this because I know that I get to give to you guys. It helps me better or become better. It helps me be a better person. But just the idea that if you take the time to give and create value to others, it's going to help build your self-esteem. The first time, and I remember, I know the person very, very well. We went to high school together. The person that I helped the absolute most in my Beachbody coaching career was a friend of mine from high school named Paul. We lost contact with each other along the way. He reached out to me on Facebook. Actually, I think I saw him post something on Facebook about going to the gym or something, and he looked like he was pretty out of shape, needed to lose some weight. So I reached out to him and just said, hey, this is what I do. I'd like to see, how can I help you? And I didn't think I'd hear back from him, but I heard back from him, and the two of us connected or reconnected and started working together. Well, I helped him lose over 200 pounds. His confidence went through the roof from that. I felt like I just kind of helped a little bit. I'm sure some of you have done that where you feel like you've just helped someone a little bit, but they've got awesome results and you're like, man, they really busted their ass. But what you don't know is how much you really helped them. And he told me one day, the one thing that he said to me that really hit me was, he said, man, you saved my life. I was like, wow, I still get literally, like I say that and I get goosebumps. When someone tells you that you saved their life, I mean, that's like one of the absolute coolest things. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe that you have that kind of power and how you can help one person. And I see pictures of him now with his son and with his wife. And his wife was someone that absolutely did not want to work out. Literally, while he was going through the process, she would sit and eat pizza in front of him because she was trying to, flat out sabotage him because she felt that if he would change, he may leave her behind, right? I mean, that happens sometimes. There's actually a book that I'm writing that's literally about that same thing, that there's times that you can make changes in your life and leave people behind you, and you have to be okay with that. And it's tough if it's someone that's that close to you, that you're married to that person. And so we talked about that. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. He kept going, and eventually she said, you know what, this is worth it. And she's trying to catch up now. So now she's on a health journey, and she's lost a lot of weight. Now, I haven't worked with her, but through a little bit of that, 7 steps of Kevin Bacon kind of a thing, I'm going to take a little bit of the credit of her getting a little bit of the success because she saw what he was doing and I helped him. So it's kind of one of those things. You can expand on your network just by helping 1 or 2 people at a time. I know you're all really good at that. So just be confident and keep doing that. Don't give up on it. Next is you got to practice the small daily disciplines in certain specific areas of your life. So let me just see a show of hands. Have you started doing any small things that help you grow recently? Everybody better be nodding or raising their hand. Yes, everybody, right? Hopefully. If not, it's a good thing you're on this call. So one of the things that I did, and like I said, I like to pick on myself a lot, so you guys find out all my flaws. I started closely watching and managing my self-talk. So remember I told you those movies that play in my head? I started really watching that. I started to think about some of the disastrous things that were about to happen, and I try to kick those out of my head. They still happen. I mean, those thoughts still pop into my head. It's just that now, instead of them popping in my head and ruining my whole morning, they might pop in there and it's like, oh, you know what, that's stupid. And it's gone in a minute or two. Sometimes, something that may have been there for a whole day, now it's gone in 20, 30 minutes, but it's gone a lot quicker. So you have to celebrate those small victories. When you overcome some of these obstacles, celebrate them. Recognize a win, no matter how small that is. For me, I'll do a little dance when I get done working out. If I have the energy, I try to run around and give the kids a hug, and I have girls and they want absolutely nothing to do with the big sweaty dad. But that's funny to me, right? I chase them around like, ooh, gross, get away. Ah. But it makes it fun for me. So remember, I told you I hate working out. I still don't enjoy working out. But I told you I hated working out before. I have those things to look forward to now that make my experience with working out, shifting my mindset so that I can find some fun things with what I do. I listen to different music. I get to chase the kids around when I'm all nasty sweaty. And I will make one of them hug me, by the way. So next, embrace a positive vision for your life based on what you value. So this is where we talk about what your whys are, what your passion is. So every positive action that you take helps you believe in yourself, which in turn helps you believe and take even more positive action. So it's building momentum. And once you build that momentum, so it takes discipline first to build momentum, right? And once you build that momentum, it's a lot easier to keep that going. And that's why we say that, you start to do a workout, you want to keep it going. You don't want to stop. You do, shift shop. And then as soon as you finish shift shop, you move on to the next one, and then you move on to the next one, and you just keep going. You don't want to take too long of a break. I can tell you, for me, if I take a week off, like I want to take a week off, because again, I hate to work out. I want to take a week off. If I take a week off, that's probably more like a month off. And then when I take a month off, it's super hard to get back into it. It's just like everything, right? You take a month off of your business, what happens? Right? You go on vacation for a week, and some of you have gotten really good at this, where you go on vacation and you're actually working your business because you're posting about your vacation and you're talking about how you look in a bathing suit, or what you did to get to this point, or how you paid for this vacation with your business. So you're still technically working your business, right? But those of us that just go on vacation and completely check out, you come back, it's hard to kind of get back in the groove. So those of you that work a full-time job, just think about, you go away on vacation, you come back, all those emails that you've got kind of jammed in there, and you're trying to get through all those. Same thing as working out, right? You get all that lactic acid that's built up after one or two workouts and trying to get it all out. It's not easy. Trust me, I know. I take a lot of breaks. So next is to practice a one-word strategy. Now I'm going to wrap this up for you, but practice the one-word strategy, and that is because what you focus on expands. So now everybody take just a second and think about one word. You don't have to say it on here, but think about one word that you use to describe yourself. If someone asks you right now, describe yourself to me, one word. Hopefully that first word that comes to mind, I see a lot of you looking around like, oh, what would that word be? What best describes me? It's okay. It took me time too. But that one word has to be something positive. If you had a word that popped in your head like, I can be lazy, yeah, grumpy, any of that kind of stuff, man, you need to put that out of your head, right? So I have some homework for you when I wrap this up. First things first, I just asked you for one word. Now I want you to expand on that. When we get off of this call, sit down and think about it. See how long it takes you to write out 100 words. And some of them can be a little bit of a stretch, right? But that's okay, because we're working on those one-word affirmations that we're trying to cram into our head. So before I let you go, though, is there anybody on here that doesn't have a self-esteem issue or problem, or is like super, super confident like I am? right? No, of course not. I am an introvert, believe it or not. And those of you that have been in my mastermind groups, I've talked about this before. I'm an introvert, but I get up in front of millionaires and I pitch them on a product that's just kind of okay sometimes. Sometimes it's really good. And they give me a lot of money to do that. They pay me a lot to do that. There's times that I walk out like, man, I can't believe I just did that. I can't believe that I sold that to these guys. I mean, of all the people that are the best salespeople in the world, car salesmen are some pretty good freaking salesmen. So if you can go in there and sell to them, you got to have confidence to do that. And I don't fake it, but there's times that I get out of there and I'm like, you know what? I just need to completely unwind. One of my favorite speakers, I think hopefully all of you have read this book, GoPro by Eric Worre. It's about network marketing. If not, get it. It's like $7 or $8 on I think is it GoPro.com. And it's not the GoPro camera. It's GoPro. Awesome book. So Tammy and I went to a seminar of his. It's the GoPro event every year. I believe it's in October. We went 2 years ago. And he said something that really hit home, and I really connected with him because of it. And he's an introvert. And he talks about how at this event, there's thousands of people there, and he gets up in front of these thousands, and a lot of them are millionaires, multimillionaires in the network marketing business. So if you want to be one of those, go surround yourself by one of those. It's also what my book is about. But anyway, he gets up there and he talks about being an introvert and how it's tough for him to get up there and get himself psyched up to do this. That's because it's a confidence and self-esteem issue. Here's a guy that's made millions and millions and millions of dollars in network marketing, that's up in front of people that have made millions and millions of dollars in network marketing and teaching them how to make more money in network marketing. And he still has confidence issues. So if he does, it's okay for us to. But the moment that he said that he's an introvert and that after this event, he's going to have to go and just unwind. He joked about sitting in a closet somewhere and just turning the light off and just unwinding, or go on a vacation and just sitting on the beach with no one bothering him, or go to a cabin and just kind of veg out. That's totally the kind of thing that I like to do. And so you got to find those things that recharge your batteries, right? So if you're the kind of person that doesn't like to be in the limelight and you need to turn it on to go do a presentation, or turn it on to talk to a new coach, or turn it on to train a new coach, whatever that may be, do that. Find what's going to charge your batteries, and then find what's going to recharge your batteries. So your homework, make the list, research some self-talk, right? So research what are the most important words on this list that you put together. Negative self-talk is as powerful as positive self-talk. So you got to be careful and guard that. All right, write down some positive self-talk narratives. One of the things that I recommend, and you may already do this, is put some stuff on a sticky note or a Post-it note and put it somewhere you're going to see it every day. You know, put it on your mirror where you're going to brush your teeth. Put it in your car and your steering wheel if you have to. Put it on your fridge, whatever. If you've got kids, highly recommend, I didn't grow up around this, and I think this is part of the reason why I'm an introvert, highly recommend that you never, ever, ever let your kids say they can't do something, or I'm not good at this. That sets me off like that. One of my daughters, she'll start to do something and, I just can't do this. Like, really? I remember when you said that you couldn't read in kindergarten, and now you're getting A+, you're in honors reading, and or I remember when you said you couldn't ride a bike. So don't let them do that, because that will compound. That's that momentum we talk about. That self-talk, if it's negative, will build up just as easily as positive. So don't let them do that. Lastly, before I let you go, find some specific areas that you can reach out and help other people. So add value to other people. I think you've got the perfect business model to do that. Use that if you like. It can be anything else, though. It can be something as simple as holding the door for somebody. You know, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. Start with that. If you don't want to talk to people, if you're really an introvert, hold the door for someone at the store. You know, help some person carry their groceries out. Whatever it is that you think is valuable, and find ways that you can add value to others. Do something like this. Whatever. So with that, I'm going to let you go. I was right at 30 minutes. We started a couple minutes late. But I want to open it up first and see if anybody has questions, any comments, anything they want to talk about. I had a full-on script to go through with you, but I felt that it was better to just kind of speak more from the heart and share some of the experiences that I've seen on some of my other mastermind groups. So hopefully you don't mind me kind of digressing a little bit and jumping around. I try to stick a little bit more to the scripts in the mastermind groups, but I would love to hopefully one day have some of you guys in those groups with me. Reach out to me if that's something that you think you might want to do. You can find me on Facebook. Find Tammy. You'll find me. Easy enough. So I'm going to open this up to anybody that wants to contribute, say anything, chit chat, whatever. So if you got a whole bunch of noise in the background, feel free to mute yourself again, but I'm unmuting everybody. All right, we're all unmuted. All right, anyone have anything? If not, I'm gonna let you go.
I don't know, but Jay, thank you so much for the call. It was great to go back over some of these points, and I like the 100 list. That's a great great idea.
Tough to do.
And as Beachbody coaches, we are list makers, so we're professionals at that for sure.
Unless you're a Sapphire, I don't think Sapphires do a lot of lists.
What's 8 plus 2?
Yeah, this is good. So thank you.
All right. No, thank you. Thanks for coming. I appreciate all you guys jumping on here.
I actually had a quick question. You guys can't see me, sorry.
Hey, Daisy.
How are you? Thank you so much for this call. It was awesome.
See you.
Yeah, it's like, let me see if I can go.
That's all good.
Light. Let me go to the light. So you had recommended the 21 laws, which I read.
Okay.
I did the mastermind group with you when you had first started. What other groups or what other books would you recommend as far as, for personal development?
So here, do you still have, did you go through this course with me?
I did.
Give me 1 second.
Yep.
I'm going to actually pull the book. Yes, I have stacks upon stacks of Maxwell books. Sorry. I'm supposed to, right? You should have stacks upon stacks of Beachbody products. All right. So on the very first, if you have this book, if you open it up to the very beginning right here,
okay,
this section here, he talks about, these are obviously books by John Maxwell.
Right.
But if you're looking for things that cover relationships, here's all the books to cover. If you want attitude, here's all the books to cover. Equipping, books, leadership, books. So is there anything in particular that you're thinking of?
I just like to get feedback from others. I mean, I'm pretty good with personal development, but if there's something that that I can, something new that I don't know about, then I'm all about it.
I would think so. The majority of the books that are my favorites, you probably know about because you've been through one of my mastermind groups, and I recommend them. This book, I know I've already shared it with you, but I'll share it with everyone else. Tammy had it, and she walked off with it. It was the Strength Finder book. So a big thing that I recommend with any one of the mastermind groups that I do is a self-assessment. Find a way to do some self-assessments. If you've ever done DISC is one, but DISC is more around and DISC is DISC. It's more of like a personality trait, which is similar to GEMS. And Florence Littauer has a book. And it escapes me right now. It's not my favorite.
Personality Plus.
Personality Plus, thank you. Where she talks about the different personalities. That's a good one too. I can't keep up with the phlegmatics and all the different stuff. I love Danny Johnson's book, GEMS. That's an awesome book.
That one I haven't read.
That's a really good, concise one. I've done them before. Years ago, I did a class or a training on it. I'll do a training for you guys on that because I think that's for.
I think that would be awesome.
It is. I mean, it is great.
That would be
for
really
those of you
good.
that are in relationships, and maybe even more for those of you that aren't in relationships, the 5 Love Languages.
Okay.
Gary Chapman is an awesome book. That's great. I'll tell you what, that's helped me be a much better dad. I have daughters.
Okay.
So I didn't grow up around sisters. I had no sisters growing up. And just knowing how to talk to and listen to my daughters because I can identify their love languages is huge. I'm telling you, huge. One of my daughters, my youngest one, who's not familiar with love languages? It's okay. I wasn't a few years ago.
I've heard of it. I've never read it. Okay.
So everybody has kind of an idea what it is, right? So then I'll tell you, my youngest is a words of affirmation. And I know those of you that have been through my groups before have heard this. These words of affirmation. So if I raise my voice to her, that's the same as someone that is a physical touch person like myself. That's the same as being abused by that person. So if I yell at my youngest, she instantly cries, instantly gets depressed. That's the worst thing I could possibly do to her. But if I tell her, sweetie, I'm really proud of you, that's so awesome, I can see she like lights up. And I know that. But if I go over and I give her a hug, she's kind of like, okay, I'll give you a little bit of a hug. That's because she's not a physical touch person. But if you come over and give me a hug, that means a lot more to me than if you tell me, hey, you know what, this was an awesome call. And I appreciate you, Leslie, saying it was an awesome call, but still, that's something that means more to me. Tammy's acts of service. That means if I go and do the dishes or I take and do a call for her so that she can go do something else, it's an act of service. So that's something that means more to her than me giving her a hug or telling her that I think her hair looks nice today. And identifying those things and knowing what those people's strengths are goes a long way. So when you can do that for the individual people on your team or the people that you interact with daily, man, you can hit some home runs because you're adding value to them, right? You know what's important to them. If your husband is someone that, and you probably already are thinking about this, like, oh, you know, I bet my husband is this. If you know that your husband is someone that's words of affirmation, or let's say he's someone that's gifts, that likes to get gifts, and you're always giving him a hug instead, or you tell him that his abs are starting to look really good or whatever, and you think that you're giving him a compliment because you happen to be someone that likes physical touch or likes words of affirmation, but he really likes gifts. And he's like, man, she never gives me anything. Every year at Christmas time, I always give her the coolest gifts and I get crap. But if you knew that he was a gift person, that's what's going to mean more to him. So it's really important. So that's one of the big ones. Go for No is a really good one. Compound Effect is an awesome one. Compound Effect is probably one of my absolute favorite ones. That's by Darren Hardy. If you went to Summit last year, you got to hear Darren Hardy talk about that. So those are probably my biggest absolute favorite. And then, of course, a lot of the John Maxwell ones. If you've got kids, highly recommend by John Maxwell is Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. There's a version for little kids, which is more of a picture book. And then there's a version for teens, which is Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn for teens. And then there's one for us tweens, which is just the Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn for grown-ups. So those are some of my favorite. Good Leaders Ask Great Questions is another good one too. And Everyone Communicates If You Connect. That's another good one. But those are my favorite Maxwell books. Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
You opened up a can of worms. You get me talking about books. Sorry. All right.
Thanks.
So does anybody have anything else? If not, I'm going to cut you off. I don't want to keep you too long. I promise to value your time. Cool. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank
See you
you
probably
too.
in a few weeks when I do the next one. Maybe the next one comes.
Awesome. Thank you.